Good morning. We'll just give a moment for folks to clear the waiting room. As a reminder, when you are entering from the waiting room, please remain on mute unless or until you are appearing or testifying before the board. Good morning. This is a hearing before the licensing board for the city of Boston. Today is Tuesday, September 27th, 2022. Today's hearing is being held pursuant to temporary amendments to the open meeting law. That is what allows us to meet virtually. Today's hearing is being recorded and will be posted to the city of Boston's website. Before I review procedural matters, I will introduce Chairwoman Kathleen Joyce.
Good morning. My name is Kathleen Joyce. I'm chair of the Boston Licensing Board. Today, we're joined by Commissioner Kiana Saxon and Commissioner Liam Curran. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Please ensure that your audio and visuals are working properly. I will call each item in the order that it appears on this morning's agenda. I will then ask who is present on behalf of the licensee, who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department, and whether there are any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify. I will then swear in all parties. After that, the police report will be read into the record, and the licensee or their representative will have the opportunity to make a brief statement, followed by questions by the chairwoman and the commissioners. Again, all testimony will be limited only to those individuals with firsthand personal knowledge of the alleged incident. Beginning with item number 1 on this morning's agenda, calling Osnemok Inc. doing business as Centerfolds, located at 12 to 18 Lagrange Street. Date of the incident, May 14th, 2022. Armed, firearm, employee on premise in violation of Mass Generalize Chapter 138, Section 64. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Madam Chair, board members, Attorney Green, Attorney John P. Connell from Upton, Connell, and Devlin for the licensee. And I believe I also have here Nicholas D. Filippo.
How you doing?
Great, thank you. And Mr. Di Filippo, if you could turn your camera on so we can swear you in a moment.
Oh,
thank you.
Yeah.
Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective James Walsh from A1.
Thank you, Detective Walsh. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the incident who wish to testify this morning?
Lieutenant Detective Troy, if necessary.
Thank you. Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing? Oh, sorry, Mr. Di Filippo, do we have you on camera? One moment.
Sorry, my camera just went out.
No worries. Is it possible to put it back on?
Yeah, I'm trying to. There we go.
Perfect. Thank you. Yep. Thank you. If you could please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. Detective Walsh, if you could please proceed with the police report.
About 10:30 a.m. on May 14th, 2022, Detective Walsh, the Alpha 829, and Detective Megan Walsh, the Alpha 803, initiated an investigation following a firearm arrest at 199 Summer Street, South Station. The following are the details of the investigation. About 4 p.m. on Saturday, May 14th, 2022, Officer Mustachio, assigned to the front desk at District A1, was approached by a citizen regarding a firearm that was lost from 12 Lagrange Street, downtown Boston. Mr. Daniel Vega Haggerty entered A1 and reported that he was working as a bouncer at Centerfolds nightclub located at 12 Lagrange Street when his firearm, a Smith & Wesson Shield 9mm, was lost. Mr. Vega Haggerty stated that he had put the firearm inside of a backpack and left it on the stage to go to the bathroom. Mr. Vega Haggerty stated that he used the bathroom, then escorted some patrons outside because it was closing time. Mr. Vega Haggerty then stated that there was a time period of approximately 15 minutes that the bag containing the firearm was left unattended before he realized that it was missing. Mr. Vega Haggerty stated that this all occurred about 2 a.m. and that he had since been trying to make phone calls to determine who took his bag. About 9:26 a.m. the next morning, Saturday, May 14th, 2022, A1 officers on patrol observed a domestic violence assault and battery occurring at 199 Summer Street in Boston in front of South Station. Officers stopped and arrested suspect Joseph DiFilippo for the assault and battery 209A. Officers recovered a firearm on DiFilippo's person during the search incident to arrest. The firearm was loaded and did not have any type of locking mechanism on it to disable it from firing. This is in reference to Boston Police Report number I-222-034-326. It was determined that this firearm was registered to Mr. Daniel Vega Harity, date of birth, January 31st, 1983. Mr. DiFilippo was also in possession of Mr. Haggerty's backpack containing numerous possessions. Mr. DiFilippo will be additionally charged with larceny from a building and larceny of a firearm. Mr. Haggerty's Massachusetts license to carry, Class A, large capacity, issued out of Peabody District Court, was seized from DiFilippo's property at the time of arrest. Mr. Haggerty stated to Detective Walsh that he did not have any type of locking mechanism on the firearm when he took it off his person and placed it into the bag prior to going to the bathroom. Due to the improper storage by Mr. Haggerty of his firearm in his bag, not under his direct possession at his employment, Centerfolds, he will also be summoned into Boston Municipal Court for improper storage of a non-large capacity gun, Chapter 140, Section 131L. Mr. Haggerty's bag containing his wallet and numerous possessions were returned to him at District A1 from the property seized at the time of DiFilippo's arrest. It should be noted that Mr. Haggerty noticed his missing bag with the firearm in it about 2 a.m. on May 14, 2022, but did not report it missing until about 1:30 p.m. the next day on May 14th by calling the Boston Police District A1 station. And that is all I have at this time.
Thank you, Detective Walsh. There are 2 additional reports as well from, I believe, Officer Mustachio. Will those be read in as well?
So I read those in my in my narrative. The first report was the report taken by Officer Mustachio.
Thank you. Attorney Cannell, would you like to address the incident?
No, I do not have any questions for Detective Walsh.
Okay.
Is that all the witnesses for the Boston Police?
I do believe so. Let me ask, was there anyone else from Boston Police who was planning on testifying this morning? Okay, Attorney Cannell, you may proceed.
All right, thank you very much. We, on behalf of the licensee, very much regret this. We believe this was a totally unforeseeable event. Mr. Haggerty, the bouncer who had the license to carry the firearm, was a 10-year employee with this licensee. He's never had any issues before. This licensee has never had any issues whatsoever having to do with firearms or weapons at that premise. Nobody knew that he had this weapon with him in his backpack. Mr. Haggerty was immediately terminated. As you may recall, a couple of weeks ago, we applied for a new change of manager as well. That's Mr. DiFilippo, who was there that night. This club or this licensee has a zero tolerance policy with respect to weapons. Even if an employee has the right to carry, they're instructed, they're not authorized to bring a weapon, especially a firearm, onto the premise. The employees have been re-instructed on the zero tolerance policy, and we don't expect to ever be here again on this sort of matter. Mr. DiFilippo is here if there are any particular questions as to the facts of that night or in general.
Thank you. We'll turn to the board to see if there are any questions. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions for the licensee?
Thank you, Attorney Cannell. I have no questions this time.
Thank you, Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon. Do you have any questions?
Detective Walsh, do we have any evidence that he was carrying this openly in the club?
Our conversation when he came in to report it was that I asked him if he carried it regularly, and he said yes, and he thought he was allowed to because he did have a license to carry. He thought he was allowed to carry it during his employment. I think it was unclear that he was not allowed to. It would need to be the permission from the board. Also, I asked him kind of how it went down. He had it on his person while he worked, and then took it out of his waistband. He had it in a holster and placed it into the backpack, and decided to put it by the stage inside instead of bringing it into the bathroom with him.
But he stated that he carried it in a concealed manner, correct?
Yes, the holster was a inside the waistband type holster that was also recovered from Mr. DiFilippo. The firearm was in that same holster. That was Mr. Haggerty's.
Okay, thank you.
No questions from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions from the board? Board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 2, GM Restaurant Enterprises, Inc., doing business as La Terraza, located at 19 Bennington Street in East Boston. Date of the incident, July 8th, 2022. Patron on employee, assault and battery in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. And employee on patron, assault and battery in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Michael Ford for GM Restaurant Enterprises. With me is Roberto Diaz, the head of security and the one with personal knowledge that evening. Directly behind me is Jorge Martinez, who is the manager of record and one of the owners.
Thank you, Attorney Ford. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police?
An Officer Doran present. If not, Lieutenant Detective Troy.
I do not see the officer. Great, thank you, Lieutenant. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Lieutenant Troy, you may please proceed with the police report.
Reading from police report authored by Officer Michael Doran. About 11:05 on Friday, July 8, 2022, Officer Doran and Pels were assigned to the Go 101 and responded to a radio call for a fight outside La Terraza restaurant, 21 Bennington Street, East Boston. On arrival, 2 parties that were involved in the fight were still on scene. Officer Pels spoke to Roberto Diaz, security for La Terraza. Mr. Diaz stated that he drove up and witnessed Carlos Robles assaulting one of the door staff. Diaz then said that when he attempted to intervene between Robles and the door staff, Robles began attacking him by swinging fists at him. Diaz said that after Robles swung multiple times at him, he grabbed Robles and put him on the ground. Officer Doran spoke to Carlos Robles, who stated that after he left La Terraza, he attempted to urinate in the alley next to the restaurant. He said that he was then grabbed by Mr. Diaz from the back as he was in the alley. After Robles was grabbed, he said he began defending himself and swung at Diaz. Robles said that he was then thrown to the ground and stepped on by Mr. Diaz. Both parties agreed to separate, and officers on scene were on scene when Mr. Robles left in a cab. There's a second report here, supplementary report written by Sergeant Detective Blas, and reads as follows. On Sunday, July 10, 2022, a licensed premise inspection was completed at La Terraza restaurant located at 19 Bennington Street. Present during the inspection were Sergeant Detective Blas and Detective James. The person in charge of the establishment, Jose Vilda. At the conclusion of the inspection, the person in charge signed for and accepted the licensed premise inspection. The violations noted were patron on employee assault and employee on patron assault. The person in charge was unable to provide surveillance footage of the incident because there was no surveillance cameras at the establishment. That's the extent of the incident report.
Thank you. Attorney Ford, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Just a couple of questions. The police were called, correct?
Yeah, from the police, from the incident report, the initial report that says the officers responded to a radio call for a fight at La Terraza.
And the licensee cooperated, correct?
There's no indication that they did not.
Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you so much. I do have a few questions. Sir, would you introduce yourself to the board?
My name is Roberto Diaz.
And what is your position at La? What do you do for La Terraza?
I supervise security at Terraza.
And how long have you been doing that for La Terraza?
20-something years, around there.
Okay. And I just want to bring you to the day of the incident. You arrived at the premises. What did you see?
I saw the young fella attacking the security guard,
and do you know why he was doing that?
Well, I know he was told not to urinate in front of the building.
Okay. So he was caught urinating, and yeah. What did the outdoor security do?
I just told him why he didn't do that upstairs.
Okay. Did you see him? Did you see the security throw any fists?
No, sir.
Okay. What did you see specifically?
I saw the guy yelling at him, and he was about to strike him. Okay.
And what did you do as a result of seeing that?
I started yelling at the patron and telling him not to strike him. And why is he acting the way he's acting?
And what did you do to intervene?
I just went up to him and I started trying to calm him down, but he started attacking me. So.
And what did you do with respect to making a call? Did you call anybody?
Yes, I did. I just grabbed my phone and I started calling, and the guy started attacking me. And as he was swinging at me, he was missing. And at the last minute, that's when everything just went to another level.
And did you cooperate with the police?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Was this out of the ordinary?
Mm. So everything turned out good.
Okay. I have no further questions. The only thing to say that this was really an unforeseeable event where a patron, this just doesn't happen. A patron decided to go outside and urinate in the alleyway, and was, as he should be, immediately confronted by security, and the patron was having none of that, in which he initiated a fight. Would suggest it's been shown that the La Terraza immediately addressed it in the best way to try to calm the situation down, and most importantly, called 911. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Attorney Ford. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions?
How many security staff were on this night?
The one security and me as a patrol.
Is that a normal security staffing model?
Usually they have two, but it was a snow night.
If I may, Jim, how many patrons were in there that night?
Maybe about 20, 19. It wasn't much.
It was a slow night.
It was a slow day.
I don't have any other questions.
Commissioner Saxon or Commissioner Curran, any questions?
I do not. Thank you.
No questions from me. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Calling item number 3, GSTH Investment Group LLC, doing business as Bijou and Rock and Rye, located at 51 Stewart Street. Date of the incident, May 7th, 2022. Assault and battery employee on patron in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Morning, Mr. Green. Attorney Stephen Miller, McDermott, Quilty Miller. Morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners Curran and Saxon. I have with me Mete Aslan and also Joe Gannon. Joe Gannon, do we have him? Mete, is he there?
Yeah, he's on the Bijou Boston. He just lost video.
Okay. Mr. Gannon, there he is. Mr. Gannon was referred to in the police report and manager of the day at that time of the incident.
Thank you. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective James from the Boston Police Civil Rights Unit.
And Officer Murray.
Thank you. And are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Detective James, will you be reading the report into the record?
I'm sure I can't do that. I was trying to figure out how to get my video to turn correctly, but can't figure it out. So I'm going to be, all right. It states here at about 2:35 a.m. on Saturday, May 7th of this year, Officer Murray responded to a verbal altercation at 63 Stewart Street, Boston, which is Bijou. Upon arrival, officer observed two males later identified as Mr. Ben Ari and Mr. Moore Butt. They were walking towards the officer and they were in need of assistance. The officer observed Mr. Ari to have visible contusions under his right eye, as well as minor lacerations. Officer asked if he would like EMS, which he declined. Officer observed that both males were intoxicated at the time that they were spoken to. It reported that he came out of the nightclub, was approached by three unknown individuals, described to be of Palestinian descent, and they stated to him pretty much like F the Jews. And then at that point, they stepped aside and altercation ensued. Mr. Butt was struck several times in the face. The security broke up the fight, pulled him apart. One of the individuals eventually stated that he was strangled by the security. And that's pretty much the gist of the report. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Yeah, that was pretty much the gist of it. The fight was broken up. And then, after officers responded, they were able to collect the information from both of the reporting parties, but the suspects were not unseen at the time. They weren't located at the time.
Thank you, Officer Murray. Was there anything you would want to add?
No.
Thank you. Attorney Miller, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, I have a few questions for the detective and the officer. Detective James or Officer Murray, you weren't on scene to witness the assault, correct?
No, sir, but some of it was caught on video.
Did you view the video?
Yes, sir.
And any allegations that, when you viewed the video, did you view it with the members of the staff?
The staff, they actually provided the video to me. So they were pretty cooperative, giving me everything I needed.
Did you subsequently have a meeting at the location with Mr. Ganem and the head of security and one of the security officers to go over the video?
Yes, I did.
And did the video show any sort of action by the staff that was alleged in the police report as far as the staff engaging in any sort of physical altercation with either one of these people?
No, it showed that they were breaking up the fight because from the video I saw, like I said, the individual that was outside, the one that was attacked outside, his friend came out of the club and attempted to, either engage or break up the fight, and security just separated everyone. So there was no punches or anything thrown by security. They were trying to just restrain the individual because at that point, they didn't know what was going on either.
And this happened at approximately 2:30, 2:35 in the morning?
Yes, sir.
And the club had closed and people were already significantly left the area?
Yeah, they were exiting the nightclub.
Yeah. I know the staff met with you afterwards, but on that evening, did the staff cooperate with you?
Yes, sir.
I have no further questions of the officers. I'm looking for him on my screen. So, Mr. Ganem, you were on the premises that night?
Correct.
and you were up in your office at that time, and you noticed that there was an altercation outside. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And when you went downstairs, had the security already separated everybody?
The fight was already separated at that point.
Did any of the security do anything other than, and by the way, this is policy that the club has to have security exterior to the premises when at the close of the evening. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And security broke up the fight, and the police were called, correct?
Correct.
And you heard the detective, you met with the detective afterwards, along with your head of security and one of the security officers, just to confirm what the video shows?
Correct.
I don't have anything further. We can forward that video to the board to view. The detective viewed it and went over it with the staff, Mr. Ganem, and the head, also the head of security. If you'd like that forwarded, I can't figure out how to do it, but Mr. Ganem can figure out how to do it. If the board would like that.
Yes, please forward it to the board.
Okay. Joe, will you forward that to Mr. Green?
Yeah, you can forward that to licensing board at boston.gov. We'll make sure it gets to the commissioners.
I got it done today.
Thank you.
I have nothing further. The staff did what they should do. They reacted accordingly. They dealt with it immediately, called the police, and they're trying to do the right thing at closing to make sure that they have security on staff should something like this happen. So I have nothing further.
Thank you, Attorney Miller. Chairman Joyce, do you have any questions for the licensee?
Just to clarify, the license premise violation inspection notice says the victim called the police. Are you stating that the security also called the police?
I believe so. Joe, did security call the police that night, or?
Yes, one of our own had called the police, as well as the person who got hit called the police.
Do your security guards wear a uniform, just so we can identify them on the video?
Yes, they do.
Can you let me know what that uniform is?
Well, it did happen in the cold, so they're going to be all wearing black. So black pants, black shirt, black sweatshirt, black jackets with earpieces and flashlights.
So this was May 7th, would they probably have been wearing sweatshirts?
Oh, no, excuse me, probably not, but they would be wearing either long sleeve or short sleeve shirt that says Bijou staff.
Okay, that's what I want to know. Does it say Bijou staff?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners Curran or Saxon. Do you have any questions?
I do not. Thank you.
None from me. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement, and please do forward that video as soon as you're able to.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 4, LBV Hotel LLC, doing business as Lowe's Boston Hotel, located at 154 Berkeley Street. Date of the incident, April 15th, 2022. Assault and battery, patron on patron in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Again, Mr. Green, Madam Chair, Commissioners Curran and Saxon, Stephen Miller, McDermott, Quilty, and Miller for the Lowe's Hotel. With me this morning is Robert Rivers. Next to Robert, Mr. Rivers, is Tony Olstein, who was on the premises that night, and also somewhere on the screen, I'm looking for him, is Matthew Champagny, who's was also an employee involved in this incident.
Yeah, I see him.
We see him.
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
Thank
Sorry.
you. And who's present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective Norman Texera.
Thank you very much. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Detective, if you could please proceed with the police report.
Okay, I'll start with the original report that was taken by responding officers. About 12:10 a.m. on April 15th, 2022, Officers Miriam and Allen responded to a radio call for removal at the Lowe's Hotel located at 153 Berkeley Street, Boston. Upon arrival, officers were advised that the call was for an assault that occurred about an hour prior to officers' arrival. Officers spoke with the victim, who identified himself as John Keenan. Victim stated that he was punched in the face by an unknown male party while he was at the bar located at the above location. Victim stated that he was having a drink with a coworker who was crying at the time. The unknown suspect observes the victim's coworker was crying and starts laughing at her. Victim then approaches the suspect and advises the suspect to stop laughing. A verbal altercation ensued, and the suspect punched the victim in the face once. At the time of officers' arrival, the suspect was not on scene. Victim described the suspect as a white male, 6 foot in height, medium built, wearing a gray vest and carrying a shopping bag. Officers did not observe any injury, and the victim denied medical attention. Officers advised the victim that the incident will be documented and call 911 if needed. I can read a supplement report for that. Following up with that, at about 22:40 hours on Friday, April 15th, 2022, Detectives Texera and Fencer responded to Lowe's Hotel at 154 Berkeley Street to conduct a Code 35. Detectives spoke with the precinct bar manager, Tony Olstein, in regards to an assault and battery, patron-on-patron incident that occurred the prior night. Olstein was aware of the incident and informed detectives that the suspect in the incident was first observed sleeping in the common area of the hotel lobby. Hotel staff woke the suspect up and informed him that he was not allowed to sleep in the common areas. The suspect then got up and walked downstairs into the bar area. Olstein went on to inform detectives that the suspect began to bother wait staff at the bar and was informed that the bar and kitchen area was closed as it was past 11 o'clock p.m. Olstein stated that the suspect then approached the victim and began harassing him and a female companion. The altercation escalated. The suspect punched the victim, John Keenan, in the face and then exited the hotel. Due to the incident occurring at a licensed premise, detectives wrote a licensed premise violation for assault and battery, patron-on-patron, and Olstein signed the violation as a person in charge. Lowe's Hotel was issued violation 026401.
Thank you very much. Attorney Miller, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, Detective, your only knowledge of the incident is as a result of speaking with Tony Olstein. Is that correct?
And the victim, yes.
And the victim?
Yes.
So you were able to contact the victim and speak with him?
Yes.
Did Miss Olstein cooperate and the staff cooperate with you?
Yes.
And Mr. Keenan confirmed what Miss Olstein told you?
Yes.
I have no other questions. So, would you like me to proceed?
Yep, if you have any questions for your witnesses, you proceed.
Oh, there you are. I'm sorry. Tony, will you identify yourself to the board, please?
Yep, Tony Olstein. I was there that night.
And you were a manager in the restaurant bar?
Correct.
And so this gentleman that punched the other person, he came down to the restaurant and wanted to be seated to get some food. Is that correct?
Yep, he came down to the restaurant. Restaurant had already been closed. When he walked towards the bar area, they had already done last call, so we were no longer serving.
And he, as the report says, there was some customers still left in the bar, and one of them was Mr. Keenan, and he was consoling one of his associates, I guess.
Correct.
And this person started harassing Mr. Keenan and laughing at the woman who was crying at the time.
Correct.
So this gentleman, do we know if he was a guest of the hotel?
He claimed to be a guest at the hotel.
Okay. So once he punched Mr. Keenan, what did the staff do? What did you do?
The staff had walked him upstairs to the lobby area where we had security, and our front office manager was up there. And then,
okay, go ahead.
And then security got involved.
And the front office manager was Mr. Champagny. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Champagny then called the police.
Okay, thank you. So, Matt, would you just identify yourself to the board?
Yes, Matthew Champagny. I was also present that night, and I'm the the assistant front office manager of the front desk.
So you got involved when this person was brought down by security or brought up to where you were?
Exactly, yeah. He was being escorted. We wanted to have him, sit down in a chair in the lobby to, one, assess who he was, and two, we called the police on him at that moment.
And so did you call the police at that time?
Yes, I did.
And what did this gentleman do when he heard that you called the police?
I don't know if he ran or walked rather quickly out the front door at that time.
So he vacated the premises?
He vacated the premises, yes.
And pursuant to that call, did the police arrive?
Not that call, no, they did not.
And so what happened later on?
I would like to say about maybe an hour after, maybe a little less, we noticed on the camera on the side street there, we're usually keeping an eye on the cameras at night. The same gentleman was walking around, and we were thinking perhaps maybe he's trying to get back in the building to his room, when we weren't sure, to be honest. So we called the authorities again, and this time they showed up pretty quickly. And I believe that's when the victim most likely made the report too. That was what, about 12:10 a.m., something like that.
And they weren't able to talk to this person. The police weren't able to find him at that point.
They were not, no.
And has there been any contact with this person since that time? Did he come back to the hotel?
No.
And you called the police twice that night, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. I have nothing further.
Thank you, Attorney Miller. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions?
I do. You stated that this person was asleep in the lobby of the hotel, and then you asked him to leave. Is that correct?
Yes. The security guard that was there that night asked him to leave, yes.
Okay, but you didn't escort him out of the hotel. You let him go down to the restaurant?
He claimed he was a guest.
So do you normally let someone, if you have a person asleep in the lobby who claims they're a guest, you just shake them, let them go? Did you check that they were a guest?
Usually we check. Yeah, usually we check to ensure they have a room key. And I'm not positive. I would have to talk to the security guard because he was the one that escorted him downstairs or away from the sleeping area. I believe he checked for his room key. He was usually vigilant enough to do so.
Okay, so was this guy a guest there?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Attorney Miller, was he a guest there?
So the security guard said he checked, and as Mr. Champagny and Ms. Olstein said that they usually check to see if he has a room key. So it appears that he was a guest there, but he left the premises and didn't come back.
Can we confirm that? I'm trying to understand why
so
you would have allowed him to go onto the restaurant. If he was a hotel guest, that makes sense. If he wasn't a hotel guest, that does not make sense to me.
It would be tough to confirm since he's never identified. We can't identify him. So it would be tough to confirm. As I said, the security guard, and maybe he had, some sort of, these keys are, maybe he had something that appeared that was an old key that he found or something, I don't know, but I guess it's not an incredibly unusual occurrence to have someone fall asleep, in the lobby. So security dealt with it, and told him he couldn't sleep in the lobby, and he decided he was going to go to the restaurant to get something to eat. At that point, the restaurant was closed, the bar was closed, he was harassing staff, and on the way out, that's when he got into the altercation.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Curran and Commissioner Saxon. Any questions?
Nothing further from me. Thank you.
No questions from me. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 5, Big Night Venues Boston 4 LLC, doing business as Scorpion Bar and Restaurant and The Grand, located at 25 Northern Ave. Date of the incident, May 7th, 2022. Assault and battery, employee on patron in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Kristen Scanlon for the licensee. Signed on with us this morning are Charlie Kane, who is the Director of Security, and Jamie Pollock, who is VP of Operations.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Officer Billy Ann Kelly.
Thank you. And officer, would it be possible to turn your camera on so we can swear you in?
Sorry, one moment.
Not a problem. And I'll ask in the meantime if there are any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning.
Yes, Lionel Jawi, victim.
And Gardy Francois, witness.
Great. Thank you all. And let me just see if the officer was able to turn her camera on. Give her a moment. Officer Kelly, are you still with us?
Hello, sorry, sir. I'm just having difficulties. How do you do it?
Not a problem. Can you, if everyone could please raise your right hand, and officer, could you please confirm for us that you are raising your right hand?
I'm raising my right hand, sir.
Do you all swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes,
I do.
Thank you, Officer Kelly. If you could please proceed with the police report.
About 1:58 a.m. on Saturday, May 7th, 2022, Officer Kelly, assigned to the Fox 411 Alpha, responded to a radio call for an assault and battery report at the Grand located at 58 Seaport Boulevard, South Boston. Also on scene with the Fox 101 Alpha, Cohen Picaro, and the Fox 915 Sergeant Albanese. Upon arrival, Officer Kelly spoke with the victim, later identified as Lionel Dejawi, and his friend, caller, later identified as Gardy Jean Francois, who were standing together on the sidewalk outside of the Grand. El Dejawi stated to Officer Kelly that he was on the dance floor when he got into a verbal argument with a staff member who he described as a light-skinned black with dreadlocks. Dejawi stated that at some point, the argument turned physical when he was pulled to the ground and kicked several times in his left rib cage. El Dejawi stated that there were several bouncers around him, but was unsure who kicked him. Dejawi stated the bouncers then picked him up and escorted both him and his friend out of the establishment. EMS was requested. Ambulance 6 arrived on scene and evaluated the victim. The victim was released without further evaluation. Officer Kelly then spoke with security staff Mark Bianestein, who stated that he was escorting the bottle girls in front of the TJ booth when a patron, who was Lionel Dejawi, turned around and said, "Don't touch me." Bennington told Officer Kelly that he attempted to explain to El Dejawi that he was just doing his job, but that El Dejawi continued to argue with him. Bennington stated to Officer Kelly that El Dejawi was looking to start problems and that his friend, Guardy Jean Francois, was trying to fight everyone during the incident. Sergeant Albanese responded and conducted a code 35. End of report.
Great, thank you, Officer Kelly. Attorney Scanlon, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, thank you. Officer Kelly, was staff cooperative during this alleged incident?
Yes, ma'am.
And there were no visible injuries to any patron identified in the police report, correct?
Ma'am, I don't recall. I do know that he was evaluated and he was released that day. So I don't recall. There was nothing significant if there was anything.
Okay, would it be fair to say that if there were any visible injuries and especially something significant, as you said, that you would have included that in your police report?
Yes, ma'am.
And no charges were brought in this case, correct?
No, ma'am, the report was written and I don't believe anything was brought after that. At that point, to the detectives.
Okay, thank you. And as the police report stated, I believe you just stated EMS was called, but no medical evaluation was conducted on site, correct?
So it was conducted on site. EMTs, did their initial evaluation, and it must have been determined at that point that he didn't need a further evaluation.
So no patrons involved in this alleged incident were transported to any medical facility following this evaluation, correct?
No, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Officer Kelly. Madam Chair, members of the board, if I may, as reported by staff, it was approximately 1:30 in the morning, about a half hour before closing. Security was attempting to clear a path for bottle service employees to get through the crowd to begin the standard nightly routine of clearing tables at this time prior to closing. The two individuals indicated in the police report were reportedly being rude and unreasonable to staff in the sense that they were refusing to move a few steps to clear the way for staff to proceed through the crowd to get through the tables, which security regularly does in clearing the way so bottle service employees can get to their tables. Prior to this, there were no issues with these patrons that evening. Patrons reportedly told security not to touch them and again were asked to move, and then subsequently began to shove security. Before any further altercation could occur, security acted immediately and removed the patrons from the dance floor, escorting them from behind so that no further physical contact could be attempted. We do have video too that we can submit to the board following this hearing. The patrons were escorted to a quiet area of the third floor as per de-escalation protocol in what really could be described as a routine crowd control event. Security can be observed on these videos remaining calm once they were on the third floor. The patrons as well calmed down and were escorted down the stairs and out of the premises and left without incident. Mr. Pollock was personally there. He talked to them for approximately 10 minutes outside and asked them if they wanted him to call the BPD detail who was on site outside every Friday and Saturday night, to which the patrons declined. Jamie can certainly speak to his observations here and will tell you that they are very conservative with calling the police when there is any issue. But again, this was a routine crowd control event. There was no fight, there were no injuries, no punches thrown, no kicks, no assault of any kind. There were no issues with these patrons prior to removing them from the dance floor again. Following their exit from the premises, the patrons were observed talking to women outside the premises after leaving, and only then did they place a call to BPD approximately a half hour after the incident occurred. Again, if I may turn it over to Mr. Pollock, who can certainly speak to his interaction with patrons, and Mr. Kane also can speak to his follow-up with staff, whose statements were all consistent regarding the incident, as well as consistent with the video that can be observed.
I'm James Pollock, VP of Operations. I was on the third floor when I met the two gentlemen. they were escorted out, as Kristen already highlighted all of that. I'll just speak to my part. Outside the venue, they walked outside. They were particularly heated. For my first conversation, we kind of calmed down. We had a conversation. They didn't feel that they should have been walked outside. I explained our security protocol, how we work, how, if somebody's not willing to move, we need to, bring somebody outside to de-escalate. That could cause a problem on the dance floor. We had a reasonable conversation. I felt like it went pretty well. It seemed amicable when we parted ways. I did offer medical attention or police, which was declined. I also offered that to security, but nobody felt that was necessary. And we do have overtime police out front. Then I went back to the Grand to work operations, but I did keep my eye on the gentleman. It seemed to be, kind of goofing around up front and talking to females that were walking by, and then about 30 minutes later the police arrived. So it was relatively surprising.
Thank you. Attorney Scanlon, do you have anything further? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Mr. Kane, if you want to add
yes,
anything additional regarding your follow-up with staff.
Yes. Good morning. Charles Kane, Vice President of Security for Big Night. So after the incident, we did an internal investigation, reviewing the video and speaking to security involved. And based on that, the video and the witness statements, everything corroborated what the Boston Police Report stated, and Vice President Jamie Pollock stated the night of the incident, that it was some unruly patrons on the dance floor. There were no punches shown in the video, no assault. Security cooperated, as you see in the Boston Police Report, was interviewed and gave a statement. And we did have the overtime police out there at the time, which was offered. And 20 minutes later, they called 911. So I believe that we did do our protocols, and the security de-escalated the situation. You'll see in the video that we can provide 2 separate videos for you.
Thank you, Mr. Kane. Attorney Scanlon, anything further?
If I may just reiterate what both Mr. Pollock and Mr. Kane said, security was being proactive before there ever was a true altercation or any potential A and B that could occur on the premises. And to reiterate what Officer Kelly said and what the report says, there were no visible injuries, no charges brought in this case, and no evidence of what is alleged in this violation.
Thank you very much. Mr. Jowie, was there any testimony you would like to provide to the board?
No, just my account of what happened from my perspective. Just being, on the dance floor, having a good time with my friend. It was pretty crowded and everything, and I got approached pretty aggressively by somebody who I believed is an individual that worked at the venue. He kind of, approached me and kind of pushed me out the way. So I had a couple of words with him, asking him why I was being pushed. And then 1 second I'm speaking with him. The next second I'm literally on the ground, surrounded by, I want to say maybe 4 to 5 guys, not really understanding what's going on, being rather scared for my life. There was a lot of movement happening, so I'm being stepped on, kicked, and stuff like that. And then maybe a minute later, I'm being grabbed by my feet and my torso and just escorted out. So I think just the way that the situation was handled, I think was aggressive and unnecessary. Yeah.
Right. Thank you for that, Mr. Jowie. Mr. Jean-Francois, was there anything you would like to add for the board?
Yeah, just to piggyback off of that, you know, from my account, it wasn't a scenario where he was, you know, hey, you're in the way. Can I get by? It seemed as though, you know, he was touched. And then when he inquired, you know, why are you touching me? That's when they kind of started that communication. To the point, I guess it just didn't need to, you know, escalate into that. I think that some of the, you know, security guard, understandably, you know, they're going to assume that, you know, their individual's word is word. So he was taken to the ground before anybody really understood what was going on. On my account, you know, neither of us did nor would ever, you know, put our hands on anybody. I was simply, and the video should show, inquiring as to why he was on the ground probably 6 times. So, you know, as I was then approached, that was the only thing that, you know, I continued to repeat. No further statement, I guess, at this time.
Thank you for that. I'll turn it over to the board to see if there are any questions. Chairman Joyce, do you have any questions for any of the testifiers here today?
Just would like to have the video forwarded to the board, please. I have no other questions.
Will do.
Thank you. Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
None for me, thank you.
Thank you.
I think I heard that at the time that this started, they were wrapping up for the night. What time was that?
It was approximately 1:30, and they were beginning to do their routine nightly protocol of having the bottle service employees start clearing the tables because of closing time being at 2. But the security is clearing the way for bottle service employees all night to the tables to make sure that they can get through, you know, safely and securely to back and forth through the tables, and have to clear the way when there's a crowd on the dance floor with patrons, which, you know, they obviously do gently as per protocol with their arms, asking people to move out of the way so that folks can get through.
And that's reflected in the timestamp, I'm assuming, on the video?
Correct. Yes.
And the timestamps that we'll be seeing are all synced up and they're accurate?
Yes, this happened at,
correct.
I believe it was almost 1:31 technically, but 1:30, and I know the police report was 1:58, I believe.
Yeah. Okay. And then we'll be seeing several videos as they're being moved throughout from the dance floor and on their way out.
Exactly. You'll see one that's the incident on the dance floor, and then the second one where they're coming and being brought into the 3rd floor landing, for lack of a better word, stairwell, where you can see security interacting with the patrons and de-escalating the situation prior to them walking down the stairs to leave the premises.
And your staff member identified in the report, does he fit the description given by Mr. Djaoui?
Charlie or Jamie?
Yes. Yes, he does.
Yes, he does.
Yes, and he cooperated, as I said, sir, that evening, did give a statement to Boston Police that he was pushed, a simple assault on him prior to words being exchanged.
And so we're all in agreement that that's the staff member that Mr. Jones was probably talking about, right?
Right.
Yes.
We can have him provide a written statement to the board if requested.
No, I think that's all I have. I just wanted to kind of establish that for when I'm watching the video. Is the video clear enough on the dance floor? No, that can be an issue sometimes, with lighting and all that.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can see. Yes, you can see what I'll call a minor, like skirmish, in the upper left-hand corner.
Upper left.
Which, yes, it's in the upper left-hand corner of the dance floor video. And sir, it is timestamped at, I believe it's 1:31 a.m.
Okay, I'll wait for the video then. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you. Anything further from the board at this time? Thank you. The board will take this under advisement, and please do provide those videos as soon as you're able to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 6, Broadway Restaurant LLC, doing business as Loco Taqueria and Oyster Bar, located at 412 to 414 West Broadway in South Boston. Dated the incident June 4th, 2022, overcrowding, house count 145, mechanical count 268, capacity 177, in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.03J and 1.06A and F. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Thank you, Secretary Green. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. Ryan Gosda on behalf of the licensee. With me this morning is Mike Shaw, who is the manager of record.
Thank you very much. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Detective William Gallagher.
Detective Hernandez if needed.
Thank you very much. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Okay, could you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. Sergeant Gallagher, could you please proceed with the police report?
Yes, good morning, sir. On 6/4/2022 at 10:45 p.m., Sergeant Detective William Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez assigned to licensed premise who were driving down Broadway in South Boston, monitoring the bars and restaurants when they could hear loud amplified music emanating through the open windows of Loco at 412 West Broadway. Detectives used a sound meter which resulted in a reading of 77 decibels. City of Boston ordinance limits decibels to 70 decibels at any time. Detective Hernandez conducted this reading in front of the manager. As detectives approached the premise, they observed patrons entering both premise doors at 410 and 412 West Broadway. Once inside the premise, detectives observed both rooms to be crowded with patrons standing in the aisles. Detectives inquired as to the count in the 412 West Broadway room and were informed 145 persons. Detective Hernandez conducted a mechanical count of the room at 412 West Broadway, which resulted in 268 persons being counted. The capacity of 412 West Broadway is listed at 177. Detectives informed management of their observations and not to admit any patrons until the numbers came down. Staff closed the accordion style windows also to keep in the noise, telling detectives that it's like this every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. As a result, detectives had observed Sergeant Gallagher issue license premise inspection number 042035 to Loco for premise overcrowded, 268 found on mechanical count, house count 145, capacity 177. Mr. Alex Elia signed for and accepted the notice. That's the report, sir.
Thank you very much. Attorney Gosda, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, just a few questions for the sergeant. Was licensee staff cooperative with yourself and the detectives when you visited the premises?
Yes, sir, they always are.
And when you informed them of your mechanical count of the patrons at the establishment, it's fair to say that they stopped admitting additional patrons?
They did, sir.
And I understand it's not part of the formal notice of violation this morning, but with respect to the decibel readings for the noise at the premise, when you inform them of your decibel count being over the permitted 70, they closed the windows. That's fair to say?
They did.
I have nothing further for the sergeant. Just a few questions for the manager of record. If Mike is with us.
We see him.
I'm here.
Mike, can you describe, just generally speaking, your door policy at the restaurant, how patrons are admitted to the establishment on Saturday nights, such as the incident here?
Yeah, patrons, it's first come, first serve. As soon as we get to a mechanical count that's, within the threshold of 10 people of our capacity, we start a line down F Street out of the side of the building. Same way we've been doing it for 8 years. Then it's one in, one out. Hold tables for reservations and capacity for reservations if need be.
And do you have multiple doors for access to the restaurant?
We have one door that we use, and then there is a second side to the restaurant where there is a door. It's not used frequently. If someone has a reservation in the other room, that's the only way that they can get through that other door at 410 West Broadway.
Okay. And your capacity, it's 177. Is that accurate for the restaurant?
12, yeah.
And on the night in question, what was your internal count at the restaurant?
I believe the report says 145.
And when you were informed by the count that was conducted by the detectives, what happened following that?
Our team cooperated, obviously, both with the sound issue and with, you know, stopping entry to the premises, and allowing enough people to leave to where we could then be within our allotted capacity.
Did you, in fact, offer to conduct another walkthrough to verify the number?
I believe our staff member did, yes. I think that they were surprised at the discrepancy between 145 and 268. It's a fairly small room, so that type of discrepancy would stick out to our team.
And when the detectives left the premise, did you in fact conduct your own recount to see what you had in terms of a mechanical count?
Don't know. I would imagine it's protocol for our team as soon as we have a walkthrough with Detective Gallagher and Hernandez every single time to go through and get another recount and make sure. I do not know what that was, but I would make the assumption that yes, that happened. Okay. Also, every time we walk through, we make sure to check our video, take screenshots at the time of the inspection to, you know, typically for coaching within our team and our security team for training, to use that moving forward when we retrain after this, you know, type of walkthrough.
And to the best of your knowledge, were any emergency egresses blocked by patrons inside the establishment? No. I have no further questions. I would just state that the licensee concedes that the capacity here was likely somewhat over the 145 limited number, and they certainly apologize for that, and we'll do everything possible to be diligent in monitoring the door counts and the patrons that come in and out. These are well-known restaurateurs in the city, and they have significant experience and well-trained staff. That being said, as I mentioned, they do concede they were likely over in terms of capacity, but there seems to be a discrepancy in terms of the 268 that the detectives counted at the premise. We have security footage that shows what the restaurant looked like at that point in time. And it's a relatively small restaurant. And as I can submit to the board, the screenshots from the video, we would just be very surprised if that were 90 persons over capacity when there's still sufficient amount of room to move around inside of the restaurant. We'll concede it was busy and that it was likely over by a number of a couple individuals, but 90 just seems to be something that the licensee disputes. Again, we'll do everything possible to ensure communications between the door staff and the licensee staff to make sure that the counts are up to date. But with that being said, we're happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Thank you, Attorney Gazda. Chairman Joyce, do you have any questions?
Is 410 and 412, do they have separate capacities?
They do.
They do?
Yes.
And what is the capacity in 410?
410 is 223 total.
And 412 is 177, you're saying?
Correct.
And you said the door between the two was open?
The partition door, there's a door inside that has to remain open when we're open, but it's not except we have staff at the top and the bottom where you can't just walk back and forth. The capacities are monitored differently for each room.
Okay. So on this particular night, there was someone monitoring capacity going back and forth between the two rooms?
Yes, they're all connected on our clicker. It's all, so our capacity is we're able to keep an accurate, ideally keep an accurate capacity on the amount of people in 412, the amount of people in 410, and they do not go back and forth without those capacities being updated and adjusted.
Okay, I don't have any other questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Carr, Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
I don't know. Thank you.
No questions from me. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement. And Attorney Gaza, if you could provide those screenshots, that would be helpful to the board.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 7, RRG LLC, doing business as Banyan Bar and Refuge, located at 553 Tremont Street. Date of the incident, July 7th, 2022. Blocked fire exit, tables and chairs in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.06a, and expired ISD certificate in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Board's Rule 1.02b. Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Attorney Trish Farnsworth with Lawson and Whiteson. Good morning, Executive Secretary Green, Chair and Commissioners. Also signed on is Elena Tedisco, who is the manager on this license, the Banyan license.
Morning. Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
I am.
Thank you, Detective Hernandez. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
Sergeant Detective William Gallagher, if need be.
Thank you. Could you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Detective Hernandez, you could please proceed with the report.
Good morning. I'll be reading from a police report, which I wrote on Wednesday, July 7, 2022. Sergeant Detective William Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez signed to the BPD licensed premise unit, conducted a licensed premise inspection of the Banyan Bar located at 553 Tremont Street in Boston. Upon reviewing the licenses and permits of the establishment, detectives observed that there was no current inspectional service department certificate posted. The one that was posted there had expired on 4/24/2022. As detectives walked through the restaurant to make sure the fire exits were unobstructed, they observed a fire exit obstructed by multiple tables and chairs. Detectives brought this to the attention of the person in charge, Mr. Brandon Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy was unable to provide the detectives with the current certificate. As a result of what detectives observed, Sergeant Detective Gallagher issued license service inspection notice 043186 for no current ISD certificate posted and a blocked fire emergency exit. Mr. Kennedy signed for an acceptance notice. And there is a picture attached to the report packet here. It's the blocked fire exit.
Thank you. We have that picture and it's been shared with the commissioners as well. Thank you, Detective. Attorney Farnsworth, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, thank you. Just one question for either Sergeant Detective Gallagher or Detective Hernandez, just in their interactions with the staff and Rebecca Rothgallo, the owner of the Banyan. I mean, have they always been responsive and cooperative?
Yes, very.
Yeah. And then I just have we'll just address each of these. Elena, we can explain what happened. With respect to the ISD permit that was expired on 4/24/2022, this incident happened on 7/7. So 2.5 months later. Elena, can you explain how these ISD permits and what you guys do to start getting them renewed every year?
Yeah, so the licensing process starts in October or in the fall usually. 1 year it didn't get the license until April, so months after October, and they did not retroactive back to October. So every year we start the process of reaching out to inspectors, to the city. We write letters, emails, phone calls. We pretty much do everything we can in our due diligence to get it renewed in a timely manner. And we really struggle probably since 2017 in getting that license done. And it usually has to do with the inspection, but we do put major effort into making sure that we are getting that renewed in a timely manner.
And it has been renewed currently, right?
Yes, it is currently valid.
Okay. And then with respect to the blocked exit, can you explain what happened that night? I mean, do you store things there by that door?
No, it is made very clear to our staff and our managers that exit and then the hallway after that door you see in the picture are always kept clear. I believe what happened that night is we had a large party that a few people didn't show up for. The manager, Brandon, in the police report did move the table, And I think what happened is he got pulled in another direction and had left the table for a bit and then rediscovered it again when the officer showed up. But no, we do typically never store anything in front of fire exits or emergency exits or any egresses.
Right. And since this time, you know, when the officers noted this, what have you done to make sure it doesn't happen?
We have posted signage. There's always been signage in the hallway behind the door, but we've now put new signage up on the door so it faces into the dining room to remind staff that nothing can be left behind that POS station in front of the door. And we have trained the managers in just what the standards of fire egresses are. Nothing can be blocking them, of course.
Those are the only questions I had. And we just, you know, we apologize, but with the ISD, that's just a frustrating matter. And the blocked exits, you know, definitely it's serious and that will never happen again. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Attorney Farnsworth. Chairman Joyce, do you have any questions?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Carter. Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
I do not. Thank you.
None from me. Thank you.
Thank you. The board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Calling item number 8, Toe Pier 6 Restaurant Group LLC, doing business as Pier 6, located at 1 8th Street in Charlestown. Date of the incident, July 9th, 2022. Service of more than 2 alcoholic drinks to 1 patron at a time in violation of Mass General Chapter 138, Section 64. Who's present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Attorney Green, Madam Chair, members of the board. Leslie Delaney Hawkins with the law firm of Prince LaBelle Ty on behalf of the licensee, and with me today is Thomas Ferguson, the manager.
Thank you very much. Who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Sergeant Detective William Gallagher.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals with first-hand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning?
Detective Hernandez is needed.
Thank you very much. Could you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Sergeant Detective Gallagher, if you could please proceed with the police report.
Yes, good morning. On 7/9/2022 at 11 p.m., Sergeant Detective William Gallagher and Detective Eddie Hernandez, assigned to Licensed Premise Unit, conducted a licensed premise inspection of Pier 6 at 1 8th Street in Charlestown. Inside the premise, while in the company of the manager, Kyle Jeffs, detectives observed the female patron walk away from the bar with 5 alcoholic beverages and deliver them to patrons standing on the patio by the railing leading to the docks. Detectives pointed out the incident to the manager as it was occurring, with the female patron making 2 separate trips to accomplish the task. The drinks were delivered to 2 separate areas of the patio. Sergeant Gallagher reminded the manager that Mass law, a single patron may only be served 2 alcoholic drinks at one time. Mr. Jeffs stated he would speak to staff about the incident and reinforce the service law of 2 drinks. As a result of what was observed, Sergeant Gallagher issued a licensed premise inspection notice number 043195 to Pier 6 for service of more than 2 alcoholic drinks to 1 person at a time, which comes under Mass Prohibited Practices 204 CMR 15. Mr. Kyle Jeffs signed for and accepted the notice. That is the report.
Thank you very much. Attorney Hawkins, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, thank you very much. Sergeant Detective, just one question. Was the licensee cooperative with you?
Yes, ma'am, they were. They always are.
Thank you very much. Madam Chair, members of the board, we apologize for being here today. We in no way dispute the contents of the license premise violation notice. This was a busy Saturday night, and unfortunately, the bartender allowed a patron that she had previously served to come and carry multiple beverages back to those other parties. We have since retrained all of our staff, not just at Pier 6, but at all Navy Yard hospitality establishments, and ensured that our employees understand that they must at all times adhere to all of the rules and regulations of the board and the ABCC. And with that, again, we apologize for taking up the board's time today, and Thomas Ferguson is present should there be any additional questions.
Thank you, Attorney Hawkins. Chairwoman Joyce, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Carter. Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
None for me, thank you.
None for me either, thank you.
Thank you very much. The board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you. Those are all of the items before the board today. That will conclude this morning's hearing. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.